Govern Yourselves, a collection of lessons by My Helps the People, written by Tamyra Andrews, narrated by me, Tamyra Andrews. Introduction. Common sense and common courtesy. What makes these two things similar? I'll tell you. It's the fact that they aren't common at all. From poor interpersonal skills to terrible grammar to you people who let your babies holler all through church services. I'm often left looking at the world around me wondering, who raised y'all and forgot to actually raise y'all? Well, enter me. I know you're probably thinking, and who are you? I'll tell you. I'm not a scholar, a specialist, or an expert on humankind. What I am, however, is a person who knows you don't ask people certain questions. I'm a person who knows you don't do unsavory things for attention. I'm a person who knows how to conduct herself at concerts and funerals. I am someone who knows the difference between woman and women. I am someone who would absolutely take her crying child out to the hallway if for some strange reason I ever had a kid. Basically, I'm just a little black girl that God blessed with a whole lot of good sense and an exceptional grasp on the English language. I'm just here to let you drink freely from my well. Because I'm so confident in my ability to help you get it together, I'm going to include a money-back guarantee. If you can't properly use two, and two by the end of this book, I'll refund you via Cash App. On February 30th, obviously. I promise. Relax, get something in your cup, and prepare to laugh and learn as you enter the wonderful world of My Helps the People. Chapter 1, Etiquette. Phone etiquette. Because this lesson may be the only thing standing between you and the block list. Few things grind my gears more than poor phone etiquette or the complete absence of it. I'm often tempted to put that block contact button to work. However, in my benevolence, I'd much rather extend grace by making people aware of their phone fallacies. Let's take a quick dive into that abyss, shall we? Number 1, is it textable? First things first, before you ever call my personal phone number, you should ask yourself, is this textable? If you're not exactly sure what constitutes as textable, allow me to offer clarity. Basically, if it doesn't involve life, death, dismemberment, or a house on fire, you should probably text it. Number 2, calling back to back. This is a capital no of the no-nos. I'm aware that people tend to do this in hope of receiving an expedited response. Said people fail to realize this is the quickest way to get you added to the block list. This is borderline harassment. Now, a decent person will call once, and upon not receiving an answer, they'll leave a message at the beep. Be a decent person. Number 3, texting, call me. Let me tell you a secret. I will not call. I simply won't. You had the phone in your hand, and you could have just pressed call. It could all be so simple. Instead, you opted to add an extra step to the process by texting me to call you. That makes me feel that you either A, enjoy wasting time, or B, lack common sense. I happen to not be a fan of either of those qualities. Number 4, trying to have a serious conversation via text. Now listen, you will never find a bigger fan of texting than me. I think it's the greatest invention since No Lie Relaxer. Being able to communicate without that awkward silence and having to give someone your undivided attention is clutchness of the highest order. However, some conversations simply don't need to happen via text. One of the main reasons is that it can be difficult to convey a tone in text. Some things can be received and interpreted 2 different ways and need added context of voice and facial expression. I highly recommend that disagreements, conflicts, and sensitive topics always be discussed over phone call, FaceTime, or in person. Number 5, asking me why I didn't return your call. Let me tell you in just one sentence. I don't have to. The day you make a payment to T-Mobile on my behalf is the day we can discuss the speed at which I return calls, or the reason why your call was never returned. In addition to that, chances are I've probably already told you to text me and you disobeyed. Number 6, texting me to let you know you left me a voicemail. This will get you thrown in the den with the people who call me. I will file you with the same time wasters and non-common sensors. The same phone that I have to look at to read your text is the same phone that will show me your voicemail notification. Reclaim your time. Number 7, the never-ending voicemail. Last but certainly not least, if your voicemail starts to approach the 1-minute mark, it's too long. Now, I personally won't listen to a voicemail longer than 20 seconds because beyond that point, you're talking too much. Voicemails aren't for spilling your guts, pouring your heart out, or giving the full rundown. You say your name, briefly summarize why you're calling, and if you want me to call you back, and hang it up, sis. If you don't remember anything else from this chapter, hang on to this. You only have jurisdiction over the phone or phones that you pay the bill on. Govern yourself accordingly when dealing with the rest of us, because the block button is always hot. Chapter 2, Group Text Etiquette, because the less, the merrier. I distinctly remember someone sliding into my messenger on Facebook asking me to cover group texting etiquette and me replying yes before the whole message even came through. Group texting has been a bit of a thorn in my side since it became a thing, but I've also come to accept that they are as unavoidable as those daily calls from Scam Likely. If you have friends, chances are you endure group text for that reason. There are some very basic things that we can do to make that aspect of our social lives a little less annoying and more enjoyable. The first thing to remember in a group text that is not of a friendly nature, for example, mass texts at holidays, texts meant to give information to a lot of people at once, etc., is to reply directly to the person who sent the text and not to the group. You don't know true rage until your phone is going off every 3 seconds with people replying yes, no, and okay to a question that you didn't even ask. At that point, I'm liable to mark the entire group as spam. If you're creating a group text among friends, you can't just add any and everybody. It is your responsibility to create a group chat in which everyone vibes well. How cringy is it when there's one person in the group that throws off the chemistry? The rest of us are left with the daunting task of easing you out slowly, aka starting a new chat without you. Additionally, don't put new people in the group text without clearing it with everyone. It would be a shame for you and your guests to get eased out. The idea behind group text is generally group engagement. With that said, not everyone needs to come to the group text. If you and one other person in the group find yourselves in a lengthy exchange, carry that conversation into a separate message between the two of you. There's only so much of that the rest of the group will take before we ease you out. See the previous paragraph if you're still unclear on what easing out consists of. If you're among the ones that are blessed enough to be in a group chat with only other iPhone users, I implore you to take advantage of the group naming feature. It is a savior if your group chats consist heavily of trash talk. I honestly sleep a little better at night knowing I'll probably never send the wrong text to the wrong group with the person I'm roasting. Protecting your roast is important. Govern your chats accordingly. Chapter 3, Tea Spilling Etiquette. Because sometimes it's too hot to keep it in the cup. There's a little thing called spilling the tea. You do it, I do it, we all do it. If you're not familiar with the term, it's basically what some would call gossiping, or as one of my friends calls it, discussing. I'll be honest, I enjoy a good tea spill here and there. I think it keeps you sharp. Is it the most noble activity? No. Nevertheless, just like everything else, there is a right way, and a wrong way, obviously, to do it. With that said, let's take a moment here to cover some do's and don'ts, shall we? The first thing to remember, if spilling tea via text, is to avoid using names when possible. If you ever want to know what it's like to want to fall off the face of the earth for a little while, make the rookie mistake of sending a tea spilling text about someone to them. Or in my case, I'm always thinking of the worst case scenario. What if I lose my phone and someone picks it up? What if I end up unconscious and someone has to go through my phone for me? Not only would they get all the tea, they know exactly who it was about because names. Instead, use pronouns. He, she, they. Use a code name if you have to, and hope that your slow friends can keep up. Time and place are of the utmost importance. You must know when, where, and among whom to have a good tea spill. You can't just say any and everything when you're in mixed company. You really never know who's whom, who's friends with whom, and so on. When in doubt, hang on to the Lipton until you're exclusively among trusted individuals. Also worth noting is that if you're in a group and someone tells another person, I have something to tell you later, understand that you are the mixed company. You have to be realistic when it comes to the spread of information. And the reality is, baes and besties will always get the tea. It is silly to think that your tea is safe once it has been spilled to someone with a best friend and or a romantic partner. In these instances, you need to use your best judgment and ask yourself, do I care if my friend's man gets a hold of this tea? At the end of the day, no secret is truly safe once it leaves your mouth. Pro tip: if it's something you don't want anyone to know, don't tell nobody. Finally, and arguably most importantly, it is vital to remember that some tea simply shouldn't be spilled via text. If the tea is piping hot, for example, jobs, marriages, etc. are on the line, I urge you to spill it over a phone call or in person. Some tea is just too hot to have a written record of it left anywhere. One of the perks of spilling tea over the phone is that if it ever comes back up again, you can just simply deny it because there's no text trail. Chapter 4, Entrepreneurial Etiquette. Family and friends, because it really do be your own. At this juncture, I feel safe in my assumption that everyone knows and loves at least one entrepreneur. Whether it's your favorite auntie or your best friend, we all have someone in our lives who either owns a business or provides a service of some sort. I also feel safe in making this generalization. Relatives and friends of business owners can be the absolute worst. Let's dive into some do's and don'ts and pray that decorum eventually makes an appearance in your lives. When dealing with loved ones, I believe the biggest issue that entrepreneurs encounter is the expectation that, as family or friends, they should receive something free or discounted. I'm here to let you know that you should never part your two lips to ask anyone for anything for free. This person that you love is running a business, and the point of a business is to make money. Do you know that they don't make a single penny from you freeloading? Humor me for a moment and use your logical brain, will you? Do you really think this individual got bank loans, used their retirement money, and borrowed their mom's last $100 to get this business running, only to turn around and just give things away for free? I'm realistic, and I do understand that the homie discount is a real thing. However, that is not something that you should ask for. That's for them to offer if they choose to do so. What you should do, instead of asking for a freebie, is support them extra. If your homegirl tells you she'll crimp your hair for $40, don't try to lowball her for $30. Pay her $50. When you see your cousin slinging his mixtapes in Walmart's parking lot, don't ask him for a free one. Instead, buy two. Secondly, if your loved one decides to provide their goods and services to you at a discounted rate, you should assume that that is just for you. What you should not do is tell other people that that is what they charge. My best friend may very well charge me $20 for a full set of box braids, but I don't go around telling people that she does box braids for $20. Your job as a friend or relative is to show your support by spreading the word and or being a walking advertisement. All you need to do is provide contact information and let your loved ones quote the price themselves. You should also never expect extras. You should, however, expect to get what you paid for. If your auntie tells you she'll make you a pan of chicken for $50 and you say you want fries too, don't be alarmed when she tells you it will cost an extra $10. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking auntie should just say, "Oh, you want fries too? Sure, I'll throw that in there for you." Not so. Auntie has a business and a kitchen to run, and you need to pay her what you owe her. Cousin Kiki says she'll do your braids for $100. Wonderful. You show up with your previous hairstyle in and expect Cousin Kiki to take it down, wash your hair, and put it back together again. That's all fine and good, but you should dare not expect to still pay $100 for that. Kiki is not going to just throw those services in as extras for you. Relatives or not, you owe these people for their time and labor. You wouldn't walk into a Harold's Chicken asking for free fries, so keep that same energy with your loved ones. You know that the one thing an entrepreneur may have less of than money is time. Getting a business up and running takes more time than you can imagine. It is for that reason I say stop giving your friends and family grief for not being present as much. There's a chance they won't make your 1-year-old's Chuck E. Cheese party because they have a store to run or clients to see. Deal with it. It's also worth mentioning the importance of respect for their time. Sometimes we tend to think that our relationship with a person means they can do things on a dime for us. However, when Grandma tells you that all cake orders need to be in a week in advance, you need to have that order to her 7 days out. You don't call her the day before saying you need a cake, asking her to whip you up something real fast. Also, if your friend or relative owns their own establishment, don't treat it like your personal hangout space. It's one thing when they invite you to come and see the place, but don't have your nasty tail lingering all over the cakes and cookies. Finally, use wisdom with your constructive criticism, particularly if they didn't ask you for it. You may notice a need for improvement or have an idea that may bring them more business. Even then, you still need to be selective. It really is all about timing. Timing is everything. You don't want to constructively criticize your loved one when they've had the longest day with the most difficult customers. That could be the day you get snapped on. Then nobody wins. Now, if they ask for your feedback, feel free to let it rip. Your food is nasty. Your parts are crooked. Your lemonade braids look like Kool-Aid braids, and so on. Chapter 5, Entrepreneur Etiquette, because sometimes y'all miss the mark too. In the previous chapter, I got the people together about not governing themselves properly with their friends and family members who own businesses. I hope that didn't mislead you, entrepreneurs, to think that I wasn't coming up your street next. There's room for improvement from everyone. First things first, let's talk prices and rates. The same way I got on the family and friends about price haggling and being cheap, I also implore you business people to price your things reasonably. Think about the service you provide. Be honest with yourself about how good you are at it and set your prices accordingly. If you just started doing hair a month ago, you don't have a license, and your sew-ins are loose, you have to understand why people will look at you like you're growing a second head when you try to charge them shop prices. I'll be frank, family or not, if I'm paying full price, I want the best. If you do nails out of your living room and I have to listen to your dog bark and you feed your baby while you do my nails, I don't expect to pay salon prices. You could be my very best friend or my nearest of kin, and what I'm saying here will remain. If I'm paying shop prices, I want a shop experience. I got on us real good in the previous chapter about respecting you all's time, right? Well, you all need to do the same with us. If I hired you for my event that begins at 3 o'clock, I don't need you calling me at 3:05 telling me you're in traffic. Just because you're doing business with a loved one, you should not expect them to be more lenient with you. Communication is key, in everything, but especially in business. When you don't communicate, it leaves room for assumption. And I believe the road to hell is paved with assumptions. Let's just say I ordered a cake from you, and after placing my order, I don't hear anything else from you. That leaves room for me to assume one way or the other. I could presume that everything is going smoothly. Meanwhile, my cake is turned over on your kitchen floor. I could also be under the impression that something went wrong, when in reality, you have my cake finished and waiting to be picked up. Poor communication could also affect potential recommendations. Small businesses thrive almost solely on word of mouth. If you have me on pins and needles, not only am I less likely to patronize you, there's also little chance of me recommending you to someone else. Finally, it is very important for you all to remember that you don't own anyone. Your friend, sister, and even your mom don't have to come to you every single time. The reality is, no matter what you do, there are probably a number of other people who do it too. Everyone has their own unique personal touch. This particular time, I may have just wanted someone else's flair. That is no slight to you and your talents, and you shouldn't take it that way. Chapter 6, Newborn Etiquette. Because you ain't got a lot to kick it. Maya loves the kids. That felt necessary to say, being that I'm essentially about to tell you that your babies are funny looking. From early 2017 till now, I've noticed an influx of pregnancies and birth announcements across my social media feeds. Let me be the first to say that if you're reading this and you have either given birth recently or have a little one on the way, congratulations. I'm over the moon for you. However, if there's something in the water, don't give me any. Thanks. Here's a hard truth about newborns. Until they're about 4 months old, they don't look like anything. They don't look like anything good or bad. They just look like tiny little blobs of skin and hair. If you're anything like me, you've often found yourself in the awkward position of finding something nice to say about them without lying. This is where I fly in on my broom. By the end of this section, you should be equipped to compliment these little angels and do so honestly. Number 1, adorable. Adorable is my personal favorite because whether an individual is cute or not, you can adore something about them, therein making them adorable. You could adore their tiny size, their spit bubbles they blow, or the fact that they smile when they fart. Something about that baby is adorable, and you've made the mom happy and told the 100% truth. See how that works? Number 2, doll. Now, doll is one that I ripped straight from the pages of the book of my mother. For as long as I've been alive, I've heard my mom say, "Isn't she a little doll?" in reference to babies. My mom is a gem and a far better human than I'll ever be. So when she says it, she's saying your baby is cute. Bless her heart. For the rest of us, that doll can allow us to flip in an awkward moment into making a new mommy's day. Think about it. What is a doll? It's tiny and you dress it up. Babies are dolls by default. You're welcome. Number 3, precious. Precious is a good one because it doesn't mean cute. It means valuable. Babies are indeed precious. Number 4, the outfits. Sometimes words escape you. It happens to the best of us, especially when you peel back the baby blanket and what you see is worse than you expected. Don't you dare scream or yell out yikes. Focus on the outfit and compliment it. Baby clothes are always cute. Wax on about that onesie until better words re-enter your vocabulary. The interesting thing is that people really put a lot of time and money into their baby's wardrobe and quite appreciate those compliments. The most important thing to remember when you go visit these newborns is that saying nothing is always an option. In fact, it is the best option for those of you who may suffer from foot and mouth disease. You say nothing, smile, and make your visit brief. Chapter 7, Concert Etiquette. Because y'all tend to make happy spaces unhappy with your antics. At this point in our virtual relationship, you may know that I'm an avid concert goer. Concerts have a very special place in my life, as they top a very short list of things I enjoy doing outside of my home. In some of my recent concerting, it has occurred to me that an etiquette lesson is in order because some of you are out here ruining the experience for everyone. We really need to cover all the bases here from start to finish. Let's get into it. If you are lucky one that gets to attend the meet and greet, I would strongly advise bathing that day. I attended a show not very long ago at which I found myself in line behind a young lady who smelled like a damp basement, for lack of a better term. I was immediately troubled on every side because all I could think was, she really is about to go throw those unwashed arms around this artist's neck. I'm reasonable, and I generally don't like to assume anything about anyone and their personal situation. However, if you had the means to purchase a meet and greet, a show ticket, and transportation to get yourself to this show, I feel safe in my assumption that you have access to indoor plumbing. Use it. Wash your body before you come squeezing on these people. You can't call yourself a fan of someone, then go and commit an assault on the nasal passages. They still have to sing after they meet you. Don't make them nauseous before the show starts. Almost every meet and greet has a host or person responsible for making sure this portion of the day runs smoothly. When said host comes and lays out the meet and greet rules, I would encourage you to follow them. If he or she tells you not to have anything in your pockets when you go meet the artist, you should get those pockets emptied. Don't try to smuggle in a ring pop back there so you can do that little thing that you all think is cute, where you fake propose to the artist for a picture. Yes, I rolled my eyes as I typed that sentence. You can be disobedient if you want, but I assure you that when the security guard plucks you out of line, you will look like the upside down smiling emoji. At that point, you should be aware that you won't be getting a photo or a refund. I understand being a huge fan of someone. Truly, I do. When you meet these people, however, you should do your best to refrain from screaming or crying. While I'm aware that emotions can run high in a moment like this, I can assure you that no one wants you screaming in their face. Put yourself in the artist's shoes. You already have a perfect stranger who knows everything about you coming to you, and you know nothing about them. Think of how much more awkward it is that this stranger is hyperventilating. Just be cool. Remember, they're a person just like you. Talk to them normally. Now that we've made it through meet and greet, we arrive at the actual concert portion of the night. There are a few general things we need to remember. If you're a tall person, try not planting yourself directly in the front. I'm not saying you need to be all the way in the back by the bathrooms, but just be considerate of the vertically challenged people. And I'm totally not pointing at myself, who can't see behind you. Be a good giraffe and look out for the shorties in your immediate space. In general admission shows, aka standing room only, aka the ghetto, the rule of thumb is, you move your meat, you lose the place where you had your feet. Securing a good spot in a standing room only show is no easy task. Protect it by doing whatever you need to do before you get to that spot. Whether it's using the restroom or grabbing a drink, get it done first so you can plant yourself securely in your sweet spot. Gum. That's it. That's the paragraph. No, seriously, bring gum. You all's breaths at these shows tend to smell like boo-boo and Miller High Life. While we're here, it bears mentioning that if your breath stinks, you should not be singing at the top of your lungs. I know that you know when your breath stinks because when the foul air leaves your mouth, it goes up to your nostrils before it goes to the front or the back. All I'm asking is that you have mercy on our eyebrows and carry a mint with you. Don't talk through people's sets, even if it is the dreaded opening act. Don't do this, especially if you are close enough to the stage that the person performing can see and hear you. It would be a shame if they accidentally dropped a microphone off the stage onto your face. Don't be rude. Finally, a little phone etiquette. If you have to hold your phone in the air to get footage, you are unquestionably obstructing someone else's view. No one pays for these tickets with their hard-earned money to watch the show through your phone screen. Concerts are a happy place and an escape for many of us. Don't muddy it up for us with your lack of home training. Chapter 8, Funeral Etiquette, because it's already sad enough without your antics. Funerals are not my favorite thing in the world. I imagine they're not yours either. Aside from being a generally sad occasion, I also know that there's a certain amount of foolishness I'll inevitably have to sit through. I feel like I grow a little more bitter with each service I attend. Sometimes I find myself looking at the obituary saying, homegoing service. At least somebody gets to go home right now. I'm terrible, I know. At any rate, here are some things that I wish you blacks would either do or refrain from doing at funerals. Number 1, bothering the family during the wake. Refrain. If you don't know what a wake is, it's basically a pre-funeral. It's a time set aside that allows visitors a chance to view the body for about an hour before the actual service. What the wake is not, however, is your opportunity to slide up to the front row and skin and grin and chat it up with the family. I'll tell you a secret. They don't really want to talk to you. Even if they're polite to you, they don't want to talk. Take my word for it. Number 2, trying to view the body late. Refrain. If you arrive late to the wake, you have no right whatsoever to sprint down the aisle and halt the funeral directors so that you can get a glimpse of the dearly departed. At this point, just come on in and have a seat, and don't make a scene. Number 3, sad, slow music. Refrain. In an occasion that is already not the most joyous, one of the worst factors tends to be song selection. Understand that given the circumstances, tomorrow, who promised you tomorrow, and this morning when I rose may not be the smartest song choices for the A and B selections. Also, let's leave the slow, sad songs alone. It only makes the time there more agonizing. And for the love of God, can we retire I Shall Wear a Crown, please and thanks? Number 4, respect the time constraints. I honestly don't know why, in the year of our Lord, people still leave the floor wide open for remarks at funerals, but alas, they do. Typically, the MC or whoever is responsible for keeping the service moving along will announce the time limit for remarks. It's usually 2 minutes or less. I think only 20 to 30 seconds should be allotted per remark, but I digress. In any case, the time given is what you good people should honor. In that spirit, I'm advising you to get straight to the point in your remarks. While that memory of you and the dearly departed is precious, I can also guarantee that it means more to you than it will ever mean to the rest of us. We don't need all the deeds, just the summary. 5, refrain from lying. I just want to throw this out there because I really believe some people get up for the remarks because they like the sound of their own voice over a microphone. If my name isn't Tamyra Andrews, I swear some of these folks get up there lying. Whether it's acting like you were closer to the person than you really were, or making up memories that never happened, God sees you. He got your number. Number 6, do obey the funeral directors. Typically at the end of funerals, there is a final viewing. It serves the same purpose as the wake, except in 1/8 of the time. During this final viewing, when the funeral director tells you to come around and see the body and make your way out the door, you need to do exactly that. That's not an invitation for you to swing by the front row and kiss the family. Take a look and keep pushing. Number 7, do save your meltdowns for the parking lot. Finally, if it is anywhere within your power to do so, refrain from having an outburst or breakdown during the final viewing. The family doesn't need to see that. They're grieving already. They don't need to hear all your hollering. If you obey the funeral directors, you'll be out the door and in your vehicle where you can let it out to your heart's content. Basically, funerals are already the worst. They don't need any help from us in that department. Govern yourselves. Chapter 9, public restroom etiquette. Because y'all think y'all at home everywhere y'all go. Triggered and bothered. That's how I felt when one of my viewers sent me a request to cover restroom etiquette. It's a shame that this still has to be addressed with grown folks in the year of our Lord, but here we are. First things first. If you're using a restroom that has multiple empty stalls, don't go plopping your but in the one that's directly next to the one someone is occupying. I'm aware that this is typically more of a men's issue, like how you're supposed to skip a space between urinals. But what if I told you we should keep that same energy over in the ladies' room? I don't know about you, but when I'm sitting on the porcelain laying my burdens down, I don't want to look to either side and see your shoes or hear you pooting. If the bathroom is not full, be a good sis and give your fellow sis some space. I'm not exactly sure what some of you girls are going through when you try to do the squatting thing, but you manage to pee everywhere except the toilet bowl. The seat, the ceiling, the floor, the door, your drawers, all are colored with your pee. I'm troubled by this for two reasons. The first thing being that at no point did you say, "Let me get some tissue and wipe this up." I know you saw that pee because you had to step on it to exit the stall. What bothers me the most, however, is that when you look in the toilet, there tends to be no tissue in there. This tells me that there is a pissy girl walking around among us, and I'm disgusted. What if I told you that it's called a public restroom because other people have to use it? That means it's not your bathroom to stink up like you might at home. That brings us to the courtesy flush. What is the courtesy flush? Glad you asked. In a nutshell, the courtesy flush means that as soon as your poop hits the water, you should have your hand on that silver handle. The logic there is that it doesn't give your poop an opportunity to hit the atmosphere and stink up the whole bathroom. Finally, in the off chance that you just might blow up the bathroom anyway, come equipped with spray or a match, won't you? Chapter 10, Birthday Etiquette. Because if you woke up on your birthday, you've received your gift. I love a good birthday. Birthdays are like the official holiday of the underachiever. It's the one time you get celebrated for no other reason than being born and staying alive. I'm all about it. Many of you are too. It seems in recent times that birthday celebrations have become a bigger deal. Like with anything that becomes a big deal, birthdays have also gotten more expensive for participants in the festivities. Many birthdays now typically cost the attendees money to attend, whether it's a dinner, a party, a trip, etc. It begs the question, if the birthday celebration costs money, do I have to still buy a gift? I'll give you the short answer now. No. For the long answer, continue reading. The first thing you have to remember is that your birthday is your birthday. It's not mine, your mama's, or anybody else's. That means your birthday is not very high on somebody else's budget list to begin with. Don't get me wrong. We all love our family and friends and are generally elated to celebrate them. But let's be real. It adds up real fast. One way the birthday tab racks up quickly is during celebratory dinners. You girls of a certain age especially love a dinner at expensive restaurants. If I choose to attend your dinner, I'll have to pay for my meal as well as tax and gratuity. The guest of honor typically does not pay for their own meal, so I'm expecting to chip in on that cost as well. Depending on the restaurant, I may very well have racked up at least a $50 tab at this point. You can imagine why one may give pause about also purchasing a gift. If I were the birthday person who invited you to the dinner, I simply wouldn't expect a gift. I believe the smartest way to approach this is by setting a birthday budget. At the top of the year, set an amount for what you're going to spend on each person's birthday. Then wait and see how they decide to celebrate. So, in theory, if you've set a budget of $50 per person and they decide to have a dinner that leaves you with a $50 tab, they've spent their birthday gift already. Your gift was your presence at the dinner. As with anything, you truly have to govern yourself accordingly. No solution is one size fits all. Do whatever you want. I just strongly advise that you do not go broke over birthdays. Chapter 11. Questions we need to stop asking. Because minding your business is absolutely free. Some people just don't know what questions to ask. Or more than that, not to ask. While we're all on the quest to minding our business, Get into this list of questions we need to stop asking. Number 1, when are you having kids? One of the most offensive questions, in my opinion, is asking childless humans, whether coupled or single, when they plan on having children. Not only is it not your business, you also never know what the underlying current is. You don't know if people are battling infertility, dealing with an illness, or if they want children but can't afford them at the moment. There are also couples who simply don't want any. Regardless of the reason, what you can do is mind your reproductive system. Number 2, when are you getting married? This invasive question comes in at a very close second place to the last offensive question. Leave single people alone with this. It's rude because of the insinuations within the question. This question is usually asked with undertones implying that this person is missing or lacking something because they are unmarried. Let me take a moment here to disabuse you of the notion that a single person is an unhappy person. If we're going to shoot straight here, a lot of us are happier than coupled people. Trust me, I've listened to a lot of venting that supports this statement. Number 3, why did you get married? On the flip side, stop asking couples, particularly young couples, why they got married. Why'd you get married so young? You really want to be tied down so soon? Here's a concept. It doesn't take everyone 1,000 years to find someone they want to be with forever. Some people are perfectly content with being settled down in their 20s. In both cases, what you can do is mind your own vows or the lack thereof. Number 4, how much money do you make? I'm flummoxed that this is still a question that has to be addressed in such a late year. But some of you will ask someone about their salary and not even blink. The audacity, the nerve, the unmitigated gall. I make none of your business, because what you won't be doing is sitting up counting my coins in your head. Number 5, when is your next day off? What do you have planned for the day? Can we all just let out of a collective none ya here? This question sticks in my personal craw, and frankly, it's a question you will never get a real answer to from me. When you ask that, it puts me on the defense because it makes me think that you're about to ask me for a favor or try to put me to work. What you can do is let me know what you want from me, and I'll let you know if and when I'm available to help you out. There are so many more things that we should be keeping our noses out of, but I feel like I've given you enough here to inspire you to go inward and see why you like minding other people's business so much. Take this as your roadmap to doing better. Chapter 12, Backhanded Compliments. Because you may have good intentions, but the road to hell is paved with those. What is a backhanded compliment, you ask? In a sentence, it sounds like a compliment to you, but can be an insult to the person on the receiving end. Number 1, you're pretty for fill in the blank. Any sentence that starts with you're pretty for whether it's big girl, dark skin, etc., is not a compliment, period. It's wrong because it sounds as though you're saying that this person is good looking despite that one feature you pointed out. Let's leave that prefix in the ghetto from where it came. I don't usually like fill in the blank, but I like you. This no-no is similar to the previous one. Basically, it means you've taken an interest in someone who may typically not be your type. You might think you're flattering a person by saying this, but you're not. If a person possesses a quality or a feature that you don't usually like, but for whatever reason you're into them, I've got news for you. They're your type now, and you can keep the rest of that to yourself. Number 3, you look good now. As humans, we tend to wax heavy over people after they made significant changes to their physical appearance. You've lost so much weight. You're so beautiful now. Not only is that not a compliment, not only is that rude, but the person probably has been attractive the entire time. You were just too shallow to see it. Number 4, no disrespect, but If you have to start this way, chances are whatever you were going to say will come off as disrespectful, and you should leave it alone. Number 5, you're lucky you're attractive. It's not a compliment, and it's usually masking an insult. He's lucky he's fine because I think he's dumb. She's lucky she's attractive because I don't think she has any other useful skills. You see how that can very easily go south as a compliment? Number 6, you're so well-spoken. Why wouldn't I be? I'll wait. If you've ever made that statement to anyone, I'm certain you thought you were saying something nice. What's really happening, though, is that you assumed for whatever reason this person would be less than well-spoken, and you're surprised that they speak like they have an education. That may be some unchecked, latent bigotry that you need to address. Number 7, you're so lucky to have him or her. Telling someone that they're lucky to have a significant other is simply not for you to say. Let the people within that relationship make that declaration, because you never know who the lucky one is in that situation. Number 8, look at your little fill in the blank. I like your little dress. This is a cute little house you have. I'll be honest, this is a minor one, and I haven't exactly pinpointed why I don't like it. There's just something condescending in the way it rolls off the tongue. In summation, learn how to pay a compliment. Say what you mean what you say, and leave the nice nasty out of it. Weather, seasons, holidays, and everything related. Chapter 13, New Year, New Do. Because some of them are don'ts. We need to have a little chat. I'm not sure if it's the winds of change that a new year brings that causes you all to step out with a new hairdo, but some of you need to step back in. We'll begin with the bane of my existence, that is the 27-piece weave. People who have been friends with me on social media can attest to my long-standing hatred of this hair don't. I don't believe anything should come in 27 pieces except chicken and fish. Every time I see a chick rocking this style, I have to resist the urge to ask, "Ma'am, why do you have your hat on inside the building?" Let's not take that into another year. Leave the helmet hair where it sits. The one style that comes close to my hatred of the 27-piece is a lace front wig. My bias toward lace fronts is rooted in the fact that they all look like hair hats to me. However, for those of you that insist on wearing them, at least wear them correctly. Don't just bust out the Elmer school glue and slap it on your head. Do your research. Buy a good one. Pay a professional to install it. YouTube it. Do something. Some of you all's lace edges look like the restaurant scene in Miss Doubtfire when his face started to peel. Also, do those things not come with a part in it? I can't stand to see a wig with no part. There's just that swoop on both sides of your forehead. You look like the guy on the Pringles can. Do better. Let's talk crochets. It's a style I've grown fond of over the last year, but I still hate some of you all's. It's the lack of balance that gets me. There's either too much hair or not enough of it. If you all aren't skimping on the hair, you're trying to install it yourselves, and the crochets start so far back that we have to look at 2 feet of cornrows in the front. On the opposite end of the spectrum, some of you add so much hair that you look like the Cowardly Lion. Balance, friends. Balance. Those of you that are about that protective styles life may be into braids. I am a braid advocate, and it's a style that's hard to look bad in. However, just like any other style, braids can go wrong too. They need to be done well. I saw someone with what were supposed to be lemonade braids when in fact, they looked more like Sunny Delight braids. Pay somebody, preferably somebody that knows what they're doing. Lastly, we can't talk hair without talking sew-ins. I can't stress enough the importance of getting decent hair for a sew-in. Bundles are an investment. There are few sadder sights to behold than someone taking some cheap hair and putting a needle and thread to it. When you sweat, it forms a big knot on your neck, and you look like you have a cat perched on your back. Friends, let us not drag our old hair sins into a new year. Chapter 14, Navigating New Year's Resolutions, because Planet Fitness still gets their $10 whether you go or not. I know what you're thinking. Maya is about to clown us for having New Year's resolutions. This may surprise you, but I'm not a resolution hater at all. I'm actually with it. My goal here is to simply help you navigate them and make them more realistic for you. Number 1, losing weight. Don't let these gym rats shame you for running into Planet Fitness for your January membership. It's not their gym or any of their business. Furthermore, even if you only go once, that's one more time than you probably went last year. At any rate, if weight loss is your goal, my advice to you is to get moving. You have to move, even if it's only ditching the elevator in favor of the stairs or taking a few laps around your house. Number 2, finding love. Many people resolve to find love in the new year. That's perfectly okay, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to see a change in your relationship status. My only advice here is to not just settle for anybody for the sake of having somebody. If anything, be resolute about finding the right person instead of just finding a person. Number 3, cutting people off. We love to leave people in the previous year, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I just advise you to cut off the people who should be cut off. By all means, get rid of people who bring negativity, bad vibes, and dead weight. Do not, however, go cutting off your friends who tell you things that you don't want to hear. Number 4, credit repair. Sometimes the new year brings a second wind for individuals to work on repairing their credit. Do that. Do not, however, let it steal your joy. The daily credit monitoring alerts can take you down fast. All you can really do is formulate a plan and stick to it. It is a well-documented fact that stressing about a situation doesn't change it one bit. Number 5, going back to church. Lean in closely. Closer. Closer. Go. It's that simple. Don't worry about people looking at you stupid or making their remarks. Forget them. They are not your God. If you want to go back to church, just go. Number 6, adjust the start date. People tend to put a lot of pressure on January to hit the ground running. The reality is that time doesn't move the same way for everyone. Your new year, as far as resolutions go, may have to start later. That's okay. Use January as your preparation month. If needed, let your new year start in February or at the start of spring or whenever. You'll be fine. Chapter 15, tax time, because the ones who owe feel away. I promise I won't be before you long with this. There's a special time of year when all the memes begin to surface and the jokes about people who choose to splurge with their tax refunds start flying. She got some new weave. She must have gotten her taxes. Oh, he got new Jordans. It must be tax time. They're going on vacation, huh? Oh, the refund check must have hit. We all make the jokes. You've done it, as have I. Well, here's the reality. There are people living real good, year-round, who wouldn't know an honest day's work if it came and peed on their leg like a dog. You see people in the grocery store with overflowing carts because they get an $800 debit card that's funded by your tax dollars every month. Or how about the good people that keep the earth populated with their constant production of offspring who attend daycare for free because of those same tax dollars? There are others who are able to keep the latest iPhone while you dust off your sidekick because their rent is only $30 a month. Now, this is no shade to any of those people. My point here is that there are people whom you will never meet who are sitting pretty 365 days a year off your tax dollars. So how dare we sit up and judge hardworking people who want to spend their tax money on themselves the one stinking day a year they actually see a return on it? If you feel tax money should be saved, then save yours. If you feel it should go into a college fund, then fund your little crumb snatchers. If you think tax money is better spent on bills, then pay your bills and go on about your business. It could all be so simple if we all minded our own business. Chapter 16, Easter Sunday Tips for Non-Regulars, because I want you to be prepared for your annual appearance. Let's have some fun, shall we? Easter is arguably the most popping time of year as far as church is concerned, only to be rivaled by Mother's Day. I'm aware that for many, it's the one day out of the year that you may find your hips in somebody's pew. I imagine Easter Sunday can be a bit nerve-wracking if you're not a regular attendee, because there's a lot going on you may not be acclimated to. This is where I come in. I'm going to get you up to speed on exactly what to expect and familiarize you with some lingo you may hear getting tossed around so you can blend right in. Choosing a seat. Choosing the right seat is of utmost importance. It can make or break the whole experience. If you're an individual with an overactive bladder or think you may want to go missing at some point, I advise you to find an aisle seat in the back. What you don't want to do is plant yourself in the middle of a row because once you're there, you're there. You should also stay away from the first 4 rows as they are not for the faint of heart. They actually become a hazardous area should a praise break jump off. Church has its own vernacular. Knowing what certain words and phrases mean can help you navigate the service and know what to expect from one moment to the next. Let's dig into some of this lingo. Number 1, I didn't say give me some praise. One phrase you may hear while the praise and worship team is up is, I didn't say give me some praise. I said give God some praise. This basically means that the person on the microphone feels that the crowd didn't give them a proper response for the note they just hit, and they want you all to try it again. My advice, just play along and clap it up for them so they can hush and move along. Number 2, take 30 seconds. It's not uncommon to, at some point, hear this phrase. It means that the aforementioned praise break is about to pop off. Praise breaks can get dangerous. You know, with people footworking all over your toes and taking victory laps and their eyes closed and plowing over everyone in their path. I want you to be safe. So if you don't know what you're doing, sit down, keep your arms and legs inside the row, and know that this is going to take way longer than 30 seconds. Number 3, take your time. You'll hear this being yelled out from the audience when the soloist gets choked up on the words. It's a form of encouragement. The fun thing about this is that it doesn't actually mean take your time. It means keep going and get on with it. Number 4, that's all right. If you hear this, something's not all right. This is typically an indicator that either a kid has forgotten their Easter speech or the praise dancer's music is skipping. Yeah. Number 5. This is the part of the service we can all participate in. This usually comes right behind praise and worship, and it means get your pocketbook out because it's offering time. Number 6, I won't be before you long. By this point, the preacher should be getting up. This is when he or she may utter the most popular lie ever told in the Lord's house. When the speaker says they won't be before you long, you may as well get comfortable, because before you long is exactly what they will be. Number 7, I'm preaching better than y'all talking. Refer to number 2 and give the man some more amens, please. Which brings me to the last tip. Amening. If you want to blend in, you have to get your amens in order. Don't overdo it. A good rule of thumb is 1 amen every 15 minutes. That's plenty. That about covers it for Easter Sunday. Make me a promise, though. If you're ever sitting in church and any of this stuff happens, please don't think about this chapter and start laughing. Chapter 17. Repurposing those Mother's Day gifts. Because I know you don't want them anyway. Mother's Day. The one holiday where no one has caught the revelation that cash is the best gift. People still feel the need to buy their mothers a physical gift, and it is for that reason I know you moms get stuck with a lot of crap you don't want. I have a special place in my heart for moms, so I'm going to tell you all how to unload those awful presents you receive. Number 1, give it back. In the spirit of pettiness that I sometimes operate in, I say give that terrible little gift right back to your offspring. When their birthday rolls around, or if you want to really make it hurt, at Christmas, wrap that gift up and slide it to them. Since they thought it was such a great gift, let them enjoy it. Number 2, return it and cash out. If you have a child with a little bit of sense, they probably left a gift receipt with their package. Listen to me, moms. Get the cash. There isn't anything wrong with returning a gift in favor of shmoney. The way I see it, they should have given you cash anyway. So essentially, we're just taking the scenic route to the same destination. Number 3, re-gift it. They say one person's trash is another person's treasure. Believe it or not, there may be someone in the world who actually likes that ugly brooch. Number 4, give it to an older person. You all may say I'm bogus for this, but the elderly are appreciative. Most of them are in the it's the thought that counts phase of life, and they are just happy to be thought of. Number 5, thrift it. The goodwill is your friend. I can't count the number of times I've used it as my personal dumping grounds. I'm able to keep a clear conscience about it, though, because refer to number 3. Number 6, repurpose it. In the worst case, find another use for those gifts aside from its intended purpose. Got a book you didn't want? Let it hold your table leg up. True story, one year I randomly received at least 3 journals for my birthday. Coincidentally, there is an eye on my stove that has to be lit externally. I ripped out of those journals for a year lighting my stove. Repurposing. Chapter 18. Summer bodies. Because y'all do a lot wrong trying to get it right. As the seasons begin to change and the weather breaks, the sun stays up a little longer and burns a little hotter. It is around this time I can expect to start seeing these words everywhere. Summer body. Everyone is working on their summer body, and summer body in progress seems to be the most used caption from March through June. It is also during these times that I see the same people making well-intentioned efforts that are actually a detriment to their progress. I'm going to hit you with some do's and don'ts because these will definitely mostly be don'ts. for achieving your summer body. I should add that I am not a health or fitness expert, but I am someone who has gotten it wrong a lot before getting it right. Basically, I know what I'm talking about here. The first mistake many people make is trying to quit things cold turkey. If you're going to do this, you may as well give up before you start. Many people, in efforts to get fit, immediately go, I'm done with sugar, or no more carbs for me. That lasts every bit of 24 hours. Then we don't hear from you for 3 days. And when we finally locate you, you're in your kitchen floor in the fetal position, clutching a half a loaf of bread. Baby steps are your friend. 2 words I want you to hang on to are gradual and moderation. If you normally have a pack of bacon every morning, start with downsizing to a half pack. If you make a pot of spaghetti, don't dump the whole thing over in a Tupperware container and eat it all for lunch the next day. Moderation. Since I've mentioned moderation, what if I told you that you can have too much of a good thing? I've watched people, myself included, make the mistake of treating fruit like a savior. I know you're probably thinking you're doing something by having an apple, a banana, a pineapple, and grapes for lunch. You are doing something. Consuming a bunch of sugar. Allow me to leave you with another word. Balance. While fruit is healthy, a healthy diet is not comprised mostly of fruit. You need protein, vegetables, good oils, fats. Put the fruit cocktail down and have a balanced meal. This one's a doozy. Having never been active previously, people get the bright idea to walk into a gym for the first time and try to go hard like they've been training for the Olympics. That may last 2 days, and on the 3rd day, you'll be at the customer service desk canceling your membership. This is another one of those instances in which you may need to baby step. It could be as simple as starting out by not using a hoverboard to maneuver through your house. Get out of your bed and walk to the bathroom. Finally, and arguably the most important thing I can say on this subject, stop chasing the diet fads and product hopping. There are a lot of things that work, but you have to stick with it long enough to work them. Doing Weight Watchers 1 week, Jenny Craig the next week, and skinny tea the week after that is a quick way to lose $100, not pounds. There's no crime in shopping around programs and products to find the best fit for yourself. But when you do, have some consistency with it. Let me give you the main thing to remember. Whatever body you're in when summer rolls around is your summer body. Love it and be happy with it as you work on it. Chapter 19. Summertime foolishness. Because it's getting hot in here, so put back on your clothes. I honestly get nervous any day that I wake up and it's warmer than 65 degrees outside. I get nervous because I know with the slightest warm weather, I'll be looking at summertime foolishness soon. One summer, you all cut up so bad that God took away the warm weather. We had 2 hot days, but he looked down and saw the shenanigans, and it was cold for the next 3 months. I want us to be better than that in summers to come. Understand that nothing I'm about to say is in the spirit of body shaming, fat shaming, or anything of the sort. It is for the people who simply have no shame. Daisy Dukes, coochie cutters, whatever you call them. You know, the culprit of short shorts. Now, this is a free country, and I'm not saying don't wear your short shorts. However, if I can see that very, very dark area of your inner thighs while you're walking, your shorts might be too short, fam. I call that the chocolate zone. If your chocolate zone is visible, the shorts may need to come down a couple centimeters. While we're here, if you're going to wear the shorts, at least have the decency to oil your legs. I've seen some legs out here you could strike a match on. God forbid if you ever have to run to catch your bus. Between the ashy legs and the friction, you're liable to burst into flames. We can't talk summertime bottoms without addressing the woes of summertime tops. Tank tops, halter tops, crop tops, spaghetti straps. Did I miss any? Cool. My one ask with these tops is that you govern your armpits accordingly. You have to take care of that hair situation. Some of you take your deodorant, those of you who bother to wear any, and smear it into all that hair. When you look under those armpits and see the deodorant forming into little white balls, it doesn't mean that it's working. It means the deodorant is losing the fight. At this point, it's not deodorant anymore. It's just the white stuff under your arm. Help your deodorant out by giving those hairs a nice little fade. Also, if you have really long cleavage, the kind that starts up top and plunges into the abyss of your shirt, stretch marks, bullet holes, stab wounds, C-section scars, I'm not telling you what to wear, just reminding you that you have the option to wear something else. Fellas, I didn't forget about you all. I want to let you all know that y'all have cleavage too. And if you're a fella with boobage, the first tank top is your bra. Let's move right on down to the sandals and flip-flops. I'll admit, I have a personal bias against flip-flops, but I also realize they're here to stay. All I ask is that you be diligent about taking care of your feet if you're going to wear them. Don't let your toenails grow over the edge of the flip-flop. Don't be all out here with chip polish. Don't have your toes throwing up gang signs. I also want to encourage you, if you must wear the things, get more than one pair. You all will wear the same flip-flops to the beach, the club, and to church. Sometimes less is more, but sometimes more is more. Summertime clothing is one of those times. Chapter 20, Barbecue Etiquette and the 4th of July. Because I want you to always be invited to the cookout. Barbecues, cookouts, these two words are synonymous with the blacks, especially in the summertime. Whether it's the 4th of July, a birthday party, or just a kickback among friends, barbecues are never in short supply. One thing is for sure, where cookouts abound, poor etiquette does also. Luckily for you, you're reading this right now, thus giving you the opportunity to get your act together before the next gathering. The first order of business is that we ensure the barbecue, particularly if it's for the 4th of July, is a hotep-free zone. If you don't know what a hotep is, ask your girl Google. She's always free. On the 4th of July, there is almost always one person that feels it is their duty to inform everyone that black people were not free on the day known as Independence Day. I'm bringing this up in the off chance that you're that person. If you are, stop it. It is well established at this point that this holiday doesn't mean a hill of beans to our people. It is a day off of work and a chance to eat, and for that alone, it is worthy. In that spirit, I ask you to leave your soapbox at home before making your way to someone's barbecue. Upon arrival, have a plate, have a seat, play some cards, have a good time, and let people enjoy things. If you are hosting a barbecue, do your best to give accurate start times. I am a fairly punctual person, so if you tell me to be there at noon, I'll probably be there at noon. If I show up at noon and you're still seasoning chicken, you and I will have problems for a very long time. If you are a guest who is expected to bring a side dish, be on time with it. Nothing's worse than when you've already started eating and you constantly have to get up to add things to your plate as people stroll in with them. It's rude. For those of you that often find yourself on drink duty, bring drinks that everyone can generally enjoy, not just your favorites. What am I saying? Don't show up with 2 liters of root beer. Something dark, something light, and a case of water will generally suffice. To the person in charge of paperware, always bring extra napkins. Again, always bring extra napkins. Food will inevitably be thrown away, but we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. The extra napkins will be necessary for covering the plates prior to us tossing them. Don't trust anyone who isn't a large woman with extra elbow meat to make the potato salad. And that's just the that on that. Finally, if you are bringing an extra person to someone else's gathering, clear it with the host first. Aside from it being rude to show up to somebody else's home with a stranger, you never know what kind of vibe the host was going for. Perhaps they had intended for this to be an intimate gathering with people they know because they wanted to talk smack and gossip. Now you've thrown off the vibe. When you hear, I was going to tell y'all something, but now we're in mixed company. In a nutshell, being a good barbecue guest and host is easy. Being terrible actually requires more effort. Now that you know better, do better. Chapter 21, Back to School, because somebody's child got left behind. I'm not sure if I can attribute this to my being an autumn baby, but I always have had a special place in my heart for back to school time. I didn't really care for school myself, but all the stuff that went into going back to school always brought me joy. That has nothing to do with what I'm about to give you, but I figured I'd just start on a sweet note before I go dragging you parents. There are just a couple of things you all need to keep in mind to avoid the pitfalls of school years past. Number 1, breakfast. Breakfast might include a Pop-Tart or a piece of fruit or cereal. The operative word here is or. I want you all to stop giving these babies all 3 at once and calling it a meal. You send them to school all sugared up and then wonder why they're bad. The schools have almost no tolerance for behavioral issues. I'll tell you a secret. The special ed classrooms are peppered with children who aren't even special ed. They're just bad. Don't let it be your kid. Number 2, lunch. We can't talk breakfast without talking lunch. Let me tell you, Flamin' Hots and a can of pop is not a lunch. Shame on you. I've heard you parents say things like, he won't eat nothing else. You said the key words and you didn't even know it, because nothing else is exactly what he should get until they eat some real food. It may come as a surprise to you, but children will not let themselves starve to death. If they get hungry enough, they'll eat whatever you put in that lunch bag. Number 3, fundraisers. It goes without saying that back to school is synonymous with fundraisers. Listen to me carefully. If it's not taffy apples, world finest chocolate, or a good cookie dough, we don't want it. We don't want the candles, the jewelry, the salami, or a cheese in the tube. We certainly don't want anything from those catalogs either, because your little crumb snatchers always collect the money, but we never get our stuff from them. I can't stress this enough, that we will always buy the taffy apples. Chapter 22, Tips for a Tension-Free Thanksgiving. Because you have the rest of the year to be tense. I think most of us can agree that the last few years have been a bit much, to say the least. The last thing anyone needs is to be uncomfortable on any day that should be relaxed and joyous, such as Thanksgiving. Consequently, I've come up with tips for a tension-free Thanksgiving. Number 1, only invite people you like. You can't invite everyone to everything every time. I want to challenge you this year to not have anyone who may kill your vibe at your Thanksgiving festivities. Now, I understand that's easier said than done, because that person may be your mama. However, if mama gets on your nerves and makes your other guests uncomfortable, let her invitation get lost in the mail this year. Number 2, don't invite anyone who owes you money. Refrain from having over guests who owe you. I know you want to try to be the bigger person, but there's something about seeing that person's feet parked under your table and eating your food that might make your eye twitch. It may just be the thing that sends you over the edge. Number 3, no smelly guests. I know you want all your loved ones present, but if you have family members that stink, let them sit this one out. They're going to ruin everyone's meal. Number 4, no politics. I recommend leaving politics out of the discussion unless you're certain that everyone in the room is on the same page. You don't want the dinner table to be a place you discover that there's a Trump supporter among you. What are you going to do then? Number 5, offer to bring something. If you're a guest at someone else's Thanksgiving and want to help ease the tension, offer to bring something. Hosting a dinner is a lot of work and responsibility, and the host might just resent you a little less for not showing up empty-handed. Number 6, take one plate. If the host tells you to take a plate at the end of the dinner, make a plate. One plate. Number 7, don't play with the food. Listen closely, as this may be the most important of the tips. Thanksgiving is not the time to try any new recipes. If you want tension at the table, add a new spice to the dressing or do something different to the macaroni and cheese. Leave the food be and just make it good like you know how. Chapter 23, Thanksgiving Dinner Etiquette, because the lack thereof will certainly add to the tension. Pull up a seat and let me learn you some manners. Number 1, arrive on time. If you've been invited to someone's dinner, show up at the time the host instructed you to. Now, some people will be late for their own funeral, much less their own dinner. So you should govern yourself accordingly in those instances. However, if you know someone to be timely, have yourself at the table when they told you to be there. If not, you may be eating the remnants for dinner. Number 2, be smooth with the nasty food. If you eat something that doesn't taste good, don't expose it right there at the table. You don't just yell out, "Ew, who made the dressing?" You have to be smooth. Casually ask who made it, and upon being armed with that knowledge, trash talk it when that person is no longer within earshot. While we're here, there is also a proper way to dispose of nasty food. Don't throw the plate in the trash can all face up. Flip the plate, make sure it lands face down in the garbage as not to hurt the cook's feelings. Number 3, bring your own containers, because friendships end over unreturned Tupperware. Bring your own. Chapter 24, Christmas decoration, because Jesus wasn't born in Vegas. Listen, I'm no Scrooge, but I'm also not historically the biggest fan of Christmas decorations. Don't let that fact make you think you shouldn't take the advice I'm about to give you. Because love them or hate them, some of you all just do the most with the decorations. Some things to consider. 1, if people have to squint when they ride past your house, your lights are too bright and your decor is doing 3 much. Remember, decorations should be pleasant to look at, not painful. Number 2, I know you Christmas people love themes, especially you blacks. You all really go big for a theme. But for the love of God, please pick a theme, one theme. Some of you have baby Jesus and the 3 wise men on your lawn, the ghost of Christmas past on your porch, and Santa and reindeer on the roof. While we're on that note, I truly don't understand why you all are still risking life and limb to decorate a roof. Has anyone told you that it's not that serious? Number 3, tinsel. It stinks. Stop using it. Number 4, if you insist on having a live Christmas tree, another thing I don't understand, you need to water it. Real Christmas trees are flammable when they're dry. You don't want to come home to a This Is Us situation with your house engulfed in flames. Furthermore, if that happens, don't send me any GoFundMe links. I don't have anything for you except this advice I'm giving you now. Water the tree. Aside from that, enjoy your decorations and have a love-filled bah humbug from yours truly. Personal. Chapter 25. The do's and don'ts of taking selfies. Because a little effort can make you a lot easier on the eyes. In the age of social media, selfies are inevitable. We all turn the camera or phone on ourselves occasionally when we think we're cute. Some of you do it far more frequently than occasionally, but no shade. Also inevitable are the poorly done selfies. These are inexcusable as camera phone qualities are just too good now. Let us venture into selfie world and see what we can do better, shall we? Number 1, do not take selfies extremely close. Get that camera out of your face. Ideally, in a selfie, you should be able to see your face, your neck, and maybe a piece of your chest. If your face is all that can be seen and your nose is the focal point, you're too close. When I see selfies like that, I automatically assume the person is older than 40. Number 2, do not take selfies from the bottom angle. One word, chins. When you take selfies from below, one chin looks like two looks like three, and so on. Taking pictures from the bottom also gives us a clear shot right up your nose. I saw one selfie shot so far up someone's nostrils, I could see what was on their mind. Number 3, do find the best lighting you possibly can. Lighting really does make a difference. You may have heard the phrase, he or she is cute in the right light. That's a very real thing. Number 4, do learn your angles. There is a such thing as having a good side. You could look like Halle Berry from one angle and Chuck Berry from another. Number 5, do be mindful of your surroundings. Your dirty house or your junky car might not be the best location to take a flick. We don't need to see the disarray of your life in the background. Also, refrain from taking mirror selfies if you have not put Windex and paper towel to the mirror. Number 6, do not overdo it in posting selfies. Even if your pictures are impeccable, there is no reason to post one every single day. Self-love is a beautiful thing, but there is a fine line that leads directly into narcissism. Your appearance generally doesn't change much from one day to the next, so we don't need to see you that often. Give us a chance to miss your face. Chapter 26, Maximizing Your Single Life. Because waiting for your other half is a scam when you can be whole by yourself. There's this little condition many of us have. It's called singleness. The truth is, this will change for some and not for others. It is of utmost importance to be happy, content, live your best life, single life, whether it's for now or for the rest of your life. This is where I come in. I'm here to help because, well, that's what I do. Number 1, travel. It's a big world we live in. In fact, it's a pretty big country, and most of us haven't seen 1/4 of it. As a single person, especially if you're childless, you're in the best position of your life to travel. You can maneuver at your own pace and travel cheaper because it's just you. Also, stop buying the lie that you can't afford to travel. You can afford anything over time if you save for it. You'd be surprised what kind of trips you can take on any budget. Number 2, work on your health. This is the perfect time in your life to get your health together if that's what you desire to do. Many of us have wellness goals, bodies we desire, etc. All of your time is yours. Work on those goals now before that special someone enters your life and divide your time. Number 3, take up a hobby. Do something you enjoy or discover something you didn't previously know that you would enjoy. Having hobbies is good for 2 main reasons. For one, it keeps you busy. We all know that we get into the most trouble when we have too much idle time. It helps you avoid being lonely. You're almost always guaranteed to come in contact with other people who share your interests. Number 4, try a new look. That new style, new cut, new color, try it. I've heard people say, I wanted to cut my hair, but my husband likes it long. Or I want to wear my natural hair, but my man likes weave. Well, guess what? As a single person, there is no one to tell you what they don't like. So go for it. Number 5, read more. This one is near and dear to my heart. I encourage everyone to read more. You'd be surprised how much you don't know. Get all the knowledge you can while you're still able to do so with minimal distraction. Number 6, sleep. Also near and dear to my heart is sleep. While you are an unattached individual, sleep as much as you can and don't have any shame in your game about it. Chapter 27, knowing when to leave the nest. Because your parents want to walk around butt naked. Adulting is scary. It's not fun half the time, and it's loaded with pressure. Being aware of these facts may make a person more inclined to stay in the comfort of mom and dad's far beyond the expiration date of their welcome. If I can help you young adults, and some of you old ones too, no shade, understand when life is throwing you all the hints to get out and get your own, I've done my job. The first and surest way to know when it's time to leave the nest is by paying attention to cues from your parents. They may tell you blatantly or drop subtle hints that you've worn out your welcome. I moved out of my parents' house when I was 25, and I remember around 24 was when my mother would casually start asking if I had ever thought about moving out. My thought process was absolutely not, because why move out and start paying rent when I can continue to not? However, over time, I began to realize that was her way of saying, it's just about time for you to go. If you're noticing that you don't have enough space for yourself or your things, it's time for you to go. You're accumulating all these nice things like beds, televisions, clothes, and your room is not getting any larger. My friend, you may need to take yourself and all of your things and move them into your own space. When the lack of privacy becomes an issue, it's time for you to make that move. Ultimately, you don't really have a right to privacy in someone else's house. Consider your parents. Because you're there, they don't have any privacy either. What if they want to walk around butt naked? What if you want to walk around butt naked? Nobody's walking around butt naked because there are too many grown folks in one house. If you can't get down with the rules of the house anymore, it is also time for you to go. Toward the end of my time at home, my mother had 2 rules that began to get under my skin more than ever. The first rule was no locked bedroom doors. I swear it was like she could hear that flimsy little lock turn in her sleep. Every time I locked my door, it wouldn't be long before she was knocking on it asking, why is this door locked? The other rule was that she locked her screen door after a certain time every night. If you weren't going to be home by the time the screen door was locked, you had to stay wherever you were going to be until the morning. Do you know what I had to do with both of those rules? Respect and follow them. And it wasn't very long after that I got the heck out. See how that works? Beyond leaving the nest in a literal sense, I believe a nest can also represent any comfort zone. There are things like jobs and relationships that we get too comfortable in. These are nests. I'll tell you how to know when it's time to leave those as well. If something about your comfort zone is keeping you from pursuing better for yourself, it's time for you to let that thing go. I've had jobs where I was super comfortable. I knew everyone there. I could do my job with my eyes closed. The problem was that there was no room for advancement. Now, for me, it was a big deal to be in a place where I knew everyone because I'm naturally shy and a bit of an introvert. I got to a point, however, where the pay simply wasn't enough for me anymore. I had to leave my familiar place and apply to other jobs where I knew no one and no one knew me, but it all turned out for the better in the end. This may sound really basic, but if your comfort zone isn't comfortable anymore, it's time for you to go. Your situations and surroundings could stay exactly the same, but your personal growth could make these things uncomfortable for you. Think about it. The absence of comfort disqualifies a thing as a comfort zone. It is now just a shield of familiarity hiding you in fear of the unknown. I say all of this not oblivious to the fact that it is easier said than done. However, I wholeheartedly believe that greater is on the other side of comfort. Now give your parents their houses back. Chapter 28. The annoying parts of a healthier lifestyle. Because that bag of apples will only be cute for a day. Health and fitness are huge waves and hot topics right now. There are a million lifestyle experts, coaches, and gurus. We're not lacking at all there. There is one aspect of it, however, that I feel we fail to address. We rarely get real about the annoyances that come with choosing a healthier lifestyle. And believe me, there are annoyances. First things first, the hunger. You will be hungry often. If you're anything like me, you go from 0 to hangry in no time flat. You may hear people say things like, I only eat breakfast and I'm good for the rest of the day. Of course you are. You had a pack of bacon, a carton of eggs, and a sack of potatoes cut up into hash browns for breakfast. When you start living healthier and eating things in their correct proportions, you will be hungry. There's only one remedy for this. Your snack bag game needs to get very strong. Have you ever known a person who always has snacks on them? Well, you need to become that person. You will also be annoyed when you discover that grocery shopping is about to become a slightly more expensive experience for you. People will tell you that you're saving money because you're not eating out as much. While that's true to an extent, any way you slice it, food is not cheap. The organic fruits and vegetables are not cheap, nor are the lean meats and things. You know what is cheap? White flour, white sugar, Hot Pockets, ramen noodles. So yes, grocery shopping will cost you more. You will most likely be getting less, and you will be annoyed. Prepare for the mood swings. We've all heard the term comfort food. Good tasting food is comforting. I speak for myself when I say the more butter, salt, and sugar is present, the more relaxed I get. It only makes sense that when you're living healthier and not consuming as much comfort food, you'll be less comforted and more annoyed. Finally, and this may be the biggest annoyance for many, sometimes the food is just not as good, period. I don't care who you are or where you come from. Baked chicken will never taste as good as 3 wings fried hard. When you decide to make a healthier lifestyle, it will not be without nuisances and what I like to call growing pains. I can promise you, however, that if you stick with it, you will never regret it. Chapter 29, Hygiene. Because some of y'all smell like Dead Bath & Beyond. I'm going to shoot straight with you, my friends. It's time for us to have an old school chat about hygiene. Because frankly, some of you all still don't have the hang of it. Let's just cover this thing head to toe so we won't leave anything out. There should be no excuses after this. The first thing we need to establish is the importance of the use of towels. Towels matter just as much as soap and water. Listen to me good. Get a washcloth and use it. If you're anything like me, perhaps you grew up watching Zest commercials with the lady in the shower just rubbing the bar of soap on her bare skin. That was cute, but it's not real life. Realistically, if you're older than 6 months, you need to be putting towel to butt. Do whatever you need to do, even if that means taking one big drying towel and cutting it up into 10 washcloths. Do it if you have to. Again, no excuses. Also worth noting, you should absolutely have more than one towel. There is no way the same towel that's been on your feet should go across your face. Moving on down the anatomy, let's talk ears. You have to wash behind them. I'm not sure if you've ever heard someone say something smells like pierced ears, but pierced ears is surely a smell. We're going to hang out in the upper body a bit longer and discuss our crevices and creases. Don't get tight about it. We all have them. Those cracks hold odor like nobody's business. It is for that reason that you must get all the way into them with the aforementioned washcloth. Do whatever you must to reach them. If you have to bend, twist, or lift body parts, do it. Let's continue our descent into Funky Town and discuss these awful nether regions. First, the butt. Allow me to be blunt. If you're not using a soapy towel and spreading those cheeks, your butt stinks, and I know it. Don't try to convince me that it doesn't. A wise man once said, "Stop acting like you're scared of your own butthole." Now, you can take everything I just said about the butt and copy and paste it to your front parts. I highly encourage using a separate towel for this because booty germs. While we're here in Booty Land, this is a good time as any to discuss the other side of this thing called dirty. There are people who don't shower, and then there are people who shower but proceed to put on dirty clothes. Shame. I'm typing this with a side eye because I'm upset that I even have to address wearing new underwear daily. With each new day comes new dirt, and you govern yourselves accordingly. Ladies, we can't talk underwear without addressing brasiers. Put a new one on, or you'll start growing mushrooms and cottage cheese under your titty parts. Also, pants. If you try to get more than 2 wears out of them, you're playing with fire. If you hadn't noticed the theme yet, put on clean clothes daily. We've reached the bottom and my least favorite part of anyone's body, the feet. I have a theory that if you ever want to know if someone is dirty, check their feet. Dirty feet are almost always attached to a dirty behind. The logic there is that if you put your whole body into a shower, your feet are the first thing to touch the water. Put those feet in the shower, splash in water a little bit, and of course, put that soapy towel between those toes. While we're here, socks. See the last sentence of the previous paragraph. I'll tell you. Change them daily. Finally, if you haven't showered, don't you dare go spraying perfume all over yourself. It doesn't help, and you'll only end up smelling like Bath and Booty Works. In a similar manner, Febreze is not laundry detergent. Wash your clothes. I'm not here to judge, but we are most definitely going to stop this madness. Chapter 30, Mistakes versus Decisions. Because there is no way to accidentally do half the stuff y'all do. I remember a quote circulating on the interwebs not long ago that said something to the tune of, "Any mistake you make repeatedly is a decision." While I feel that is mostly true, I disagree slightly. I believe that many of the things we do are decisions the first time we do them. You can take the repeatedly out of it. Go with me on this. If you're at work and you press the 5 instead of the 2, and it makes your drawer come up short, that is an honest mistake. However, if you reach down into your drawer and help yourself to a few 20s, that was a decision. If someone asks why you stole the money, you probably say, "I'm human. I made a mistake." But did you? You're driving along and don't see a stop sign, so you run through it, causing a collision. That's a mistake. But if you decide to go out and get wasted and sit yourself in the driver's seat and end up running over 3 bunnies, that was not a mistake. You made a very poor decision. One of the most commonly mislabeled mistakes occur in cheating. When we call cheating a mistake, I get a mental picture of someone walking, slipping on a banana peel, and falling into someone else's private parts. That is the only justifiable mistake I can fathom. If we can just be honest with ourselves, the cheating process has too many steps to ever truly be a mistake. You have to pick up the phone. You have to answer that text. Set up a time and place, and either drive or wait for your guests to arrive. All of that is before the actual act even occurs. Not only is that a decision, it's a series of decisions. Now, let me say this is a judgment-free zone. I can guarantee that we all make mistakes as well as bad decisions. The goal here is to get us all to decipher them properly and call a thing a thing. Chapter 31, False Humility. Because some of y'all are full of baloney. I don't want this book to come off as me just telling you everything that's wrong with you. I'm still working on things about myself as well. One particular thing is false humility. You may be wondering what that even is. Have you ever had anyone tell you that you look good? You respond with, "Oh, no, I don't." Or maybe someone complimented your outfit and you downplayed it with, "Oh, this whole thing." Perhaps someone pointed out your weight loss and you're like, "I still have this belly though." We're all guilty of things like this in some capacity. We do it under the guise of appearing humble, but it is not humility at all. What makes it false? You know you put that extra effort into your appearance. You know you took your time putting together the perfect outfit. You busted your tail in the gym. So why is it understating these things is the default response when someone brings light to them? It's a defense mechanism that is rooted in the fear of what someone else's opinion of us might be. False humility tells you that if you come into agreement with the positive things about yourself, someone is going to think that you think you're all that. It's silly when you really think about it, isn't it? Luckily, to every problem, there's a solution. I found the best solution in instances like this to be, thank you. There's a lot of power in those two short words. The next time someone affirms you in some way, resist the urge to take the fake humble route. Just say thank you and keep it pushing. The more you practice it, the sooner it will become a habit. True humility is not shunning a compliment. It's acknowledging that the compliment is true and not allowing it to turn you into a jerk. Chapter 32, How to Spot a Lying Problem. Because for some, it's as simple as seeing their lips moving. There's a disease going around. It's called lying. And yes, I'm calling it a disease because some of you do it to a sickening extent. The sad part is that some of you don't even realize you have this disease. Some people lie so much that they don't even realize they're doing it. Or even worse, they've been lying so long they've started to believe their own tales. The thing about lying is that it isn't just the blatant absence of truth. It can be truth bending, embellishing, and even omitting significant details. Let's take a few moments to self-evaluate and see if we have a lying problem, shall we? Number 1, if you can't tell the same story the same way more than once, you probably have a lying problem. If every time you recount an event, you add a few more details and sprinkle a little more seasoning on the story, you lie. Number 2, if you will lie in the presence of people who know the truth, you have a problem. I know what's up, and you know that I know what's up. Yet you lie anyway. Not only do you have a problem, but you're an extreme case. I've noticed this the worst with social media. The lying social media demon is real. You all tend to paint a certain picture on social media as if there aren't people around you who know you in real life and know the real deal. I digress. Number 3, if you'll lie about small stuff, you have a problem. Have you ever known someone who will lie when the truth would have been plenty? They may fabricate parts of their story or alter insignificant details for no good reason. This type of liar bugs me the most because I feel like you would just lie because the wind is blowing. I wish God would give people that Pinocchio disease where a part of their body starts growing every time they tell a lie. Number 4, If you seriously joke a lot, you too might have a lying problem. Some people say exactly what they really mean, but if they are unsatisfied with your response, they'll say they were just playing. No, you were just serious, and now you're just lying. Remember, friends, whether you lie to impress people or to make yourself look better, whoever you're lying to is most likely not even important enough to waste a lie on. Chapter 32. Attention-seeking behavior. Because y'all will do anything except something constructive for attention. There's another disease running rampant in the land. It's called ASB, or attention-seeking behavior. For that reason, I'm going to give you some tips on how to diagnose ASB in yourself, most importantly, and how to treat it should you encounter it in someone else. You're in an environment that is generally happy, and the mood is light. You notice someone who insists on sitting in the midst of the happiness with their face all torn up, waiting for someone to ask them what's wrong. This is more than likely ASB you're witnessing. What is the proper treatment for these kinds? Ignore them. It's as simple as that. If you know someone who always conveniently falls ill when a crowd is present, what do we call that? Chronic ASB. How do you treat it? Pick one foot up, step over them, and let the other foot follow. If you can't allow someone else to get any shine without making your presence known, you have ASB. Why do you have to mention that your birthday is next week while telling someone else happy birthday? You can treat this by actively not inserting yourself into moments that don't directly concern you. Just say happy birthday and move on. If you're a person who constantly feels the need to one-up everyone, you have ASB. You probably don't get invited to many things either. If this is sounding familiar, listen to the previous paragraph for treatment. If you do things to your physical appearance that look, for lack of a better word, stupid, you could have ASB. I understand fashion, creativity, and self-expression. However, if you shave your head bald and leave one dreadlock hanging down in the front, you can't convince me you don't want attention. How do we treat this? You all stop lying to these people and tell them they look good. We're human, and humans need attention occasionally. I get it. Let's just try doing something positive to get it and stop with the antics. Chapter 33. The do's and don'ts of apologizing. Because y'all don't really be sorry anyway. There's this thing that we kind of suck at. It's almost like a lost art. It's called apologizing. I present to you the do's and don'ts of issuing a proper apology. Number 1, do show remorse. Whether it's I'm sorry for what I did or I apologize for what I said, you absolutely want to make it clear that you have genuine regret for the offense you caused. Number 2, try not to minimize what you did. Making it known that you didn't think whatever you did was a big deal or that serious does nothing but cheapen your apology. If you're standing there apologizing in the first place, it's safe to assume that it was a big deal to that person. Do take responsibility. Acknowledge the gravity of your actions and make it clear that you understand why you were wrong. Number 4, do not make excuses. Trying to justify your wrongdoing and deflecting it onto the person you're apologizing to are the quickest ways to invalidate your apology. I'm sorry, but I only did what I did because you said what you said. I'm sorry you took what I said the wrong way. These are worse than excuses, and they're non-apologies. Number 5, do what you can to make it right. It is in good taste to try to make amends to the best of your ability, following your apology. One foolproof way to go about this is simply asking. It doesn't hurt to ask, what can I do to make this right? If you want to go about it in a more general sense, let the person know how you intend to improve in the future. Let's say this person's issue with you is that they don't like how you talk to them. Making it right could sound as simple as, "I'm sorry, I'll be more mindful of my tone." Number 6, do not commit the same offense again. I've heard it said that the greatest apology is changed behavior, and I approve that message 100%. Chapter 33. How to accept an apology. Because yes, there's a right way to do that too. We've covered the do's and don'ts of apologizing, but what I realize is that many of us don't know how to properly accept an apology either. There are ways to graciously and sincerely accept an apology. Let's get into it. First things first, it is important to listen to what's being said when someone is apologizing to you. You have to listen to what they're saying they're sorry for, so you can determine if you actually accept it or not. Let's just say you called me nappy-headed and talked about my mama, but in your apology, you only apologize for talking about my mama. I can then make the decision to accept that because it is an incomplete apology, or not accept it. In any case, whether the apology was insincere, poorly worded, or you just are still in your feelings, don't feel pressured to say that you accept an apology that you don't really accept just because the person is right there in front of you. Next, if you feel so inclined, you can thank the person for their apology. Let's face it, apologizing is not an easy thing to do, especially if you're someone like me who absolutely hates to be wrong. I would rather eat dirt than apologize some days. So, while you're not required at all to do this, it is okay to thank the person for humbling themselves and coming to you with their apology. In your acceptance, know that it's okay to have a little back and forth. By that, I mean it doesn't have to be a cut and dry exchange. "I'm sorry." "Oh, okay, I forgive you." If you want to further expound on why the person's actions hurt or offended you, you are well within your right to do so. Let's pretend the aforementioned person says to me, "Tamyra, I apologize for talking about your mama and calling you nappy-headed." I can then say, "Thank you for your apology. I appreciate that because my feelings were hurt, and I'm sensitive about my mama and my beady beads." If someone is apologizing, they obviously know that they were wrong. This exchange can help them understand why they were wrong and the impact their words and actions had on you. When accepting an apology, let's get rid of "it's okay." Truthfully, if what they did was okay, an apology would not be necessary. Better words to use are "I accept your apology" or "I forgive you." Let's do away with "let's just forget about it." Even though all may be forgiven and it's water under the bridge now, you are not God and you don't have a sea of forgetfulness to throw things into. I'd even venture to say that some offenses shouldn't be forgotten, as you may need to mark it and be wary of it. You can choose to not dwell on it, but you don't ever really forget. Lastly but not leastly, yes, I said leastly, this is my book. Just because you have forgiven someone, it does not mean that you are obligated to allow them back into your space. You can genuinely accept someone's apology, not harbor any ill feelings toward them, and still choose to release them from your life. That's perfectly okay. Chapter 34. Uncommon Courtesies. Because much like sense, courtesy isn't as common as it claims to be. This chapter is a vomit of my personal frustrations. You may or may not know it, but the very foundation of My Helps the People is reteaching adults basic things that they should have learned somewhere in childhood. Don't let the lengthiness of this chapter scare you away. It is probably the most important one in this entire book. Fasten your seatbelts as I blow through some common courtesies we all need to live by. There is no rhyme or reason to this list, so keep up the best way you can. If someone is holding the door for you, the least you can do is a little fake run. That lets them know that you appreciate them holding the door and you're not dragging your feet about it. When you arrive at that door that is being held for you, say thank you. And I don't care if it's a man and you're a woman. That is what he's supposed to do, but certainly not required to do. He is not Benson or Mr. Belvedere. Tell him thank you. If you see someone running to catch the elevator that you're on, don't let the door close on them. Hold the button, stick your foot out, do something. If someone sneezes, say bless you. I'm not sure what that does, but I'm certain it won't stop them from sneezing, but you still say it anyway. Do not go out to eat if you don't have enough money to tip the person that will be serving you. You may disagree with that, but I don't care because I know I'm right about it. If leaving a tip will break the bank for you, get carry out. But the moment you sit down and have someone running back and forth for you, you owe them a tip. If you walk into a room with people already in it, say hello. They were there first and already established in the space. You're the newcomer, so it is your responsibility to speak first. By that same token, if you're already in a room and someone walks in, you can say hello too. If you bring a +1 to someone else's event, see to it that you introduce your company to the host. This is particularly important if the event is happening in someone's home. If you are the +1 and the person who brought you fails to introduce you, go introduce yourself. You should also refrain from bringing a +1 without clearing it with the host first. Don't send your friends' significant others friend requests on social media without being formally introduced first. It's creepy and weird. In traffic, if someone lets you over, throw your hand up in the rearview mirror and say thank you. They didn't have to let you over. They could have been like me and act like they didn't see you. Don't get in the passing lane driving slow. If you have a cruise in your spirit, find your way back into one of the other 2 lanes. Leave the 3rd lane for those of us that have somewhere to be. If you're not black, don't say the N-word. That may seem like a courtesy to us, but it is really more for your health and safety. I'm trying to save you from a potential beatdown here. If someone takes you out to eat, meaning they're paying for your meal, do not proceed to order the entire menu. Now, if you are just in the mood to eat a lot that day, let the person know that you appreciate their gesture but will pay for your own meal. Do not stare at people while they're eating. Do not stare at people, period, unless they're doing something stare-worthy, like performing. If you see someone eating, that is not the time to try and hug them or strike up a conversation. Few people like to be interrupted while they graze, and even fewer people will appreciate you breathing on their food. If someone is eating something that you don't find appetizing, don't make remarks about it. Ew, that looks nasty. You eat that? Clearly they eat that because it's on their plate. When you leave out of a store, put the cart back. It's literally just a few more steps. If you're meeting up with punctual people, you need to also be punctual. If you're going to be late, a text or a phone call will go a long way. If someone invites you over to dinner, ask what you can bring. You'll probably have your fingers crossed, hoping they'll say you don't need to bring anything but yourself. If that's the case, you've done your part by asking, and you don't look like the raggedy dinner guest. When you borrow money, pay it back when you said you would. If you're going to be a little late, you should communicate that as well. Truth is, we will spread the word about you and tell everyone that you don't pay money back. Good luck getting along after that. If you borrow anything at all, be as quick as possible about returning it. The longer you hold on to something, the more prone you are to break it or lose it. Seriously, folks, friendships end over things like this. The purple circle is real. Give people their space. I believe this might be a cultural thing because some people have less of an issue with personal space than others. However, I am black, and I think I speak for a lot of blacks when I say don't run up on us too fast or get too close, and definitely don't put your hands on us unless you know us like that. Give people their space at ATMs, checkout lines, and any other instance that involves putting a PIN number in. Get back. If someone lets you use their phone, use it for whatever reason you were supposed to, then give it back. Don't start going through their web browser history, stay out of their photo albums, and certainly don't read their texts. You may find something about you in there and get your feelings hurt. In that same spirit, if someone shows you a picture on their phone, don't start swiping. You could be looking at babies 1 second and booty the next. A booty you probably didn't even want to see. If you're going to someone's house who has pets, you don't get to ask them to put their pets away. That dog lives there. You don't. You should check into this in advance. Ask the host if they have pets, and if they answer affirmatively, you have the opportunity to let them know what your issue is with said pet. Whether you're scared of animals, allergic, or just don't like them, this leaves the floor open for the host to voluntarily put them away. In the worst case, you could just opt to not go over there. Stop using the speakerphone when listening to music and when holding conversations in public places. Headphones can cost almost nothing. Treat yourself to a pair. If you're in the grocery store checkout line and your cart is overflowing, allow the person behind you with 1 or 2 items to go ahead of you. By the time you get all your crap onto the belt, that person will be out the door. Return people's calls and texts. Some of you take the phrase, "at my earliest convenience," way too far. I understand taking hours to reply to a message, but there is no reason under the sun it should take days to get back with someone. As many times in a day as you pick up your phone, you can reply to a little text. This is all coming from a person who is not the biggest fan of telecommunication in any of its forms. If I'm saying it, you know it's out of hand. On the flip side, do not call and text someone repeatedly until they reply. I don't care how long it takes them. Unless you pay their phone bill, you cannot force a response. That's also harassment, FYI. If you use the bathroom in a public place or someone else's house, clean up after yourself. Some of you are just gross. If you piss on your own toilet seats, that's your business. But once you enter a public space, wipe it up, nasty. Don't rub pregnant women's stomachs without asking first. Most of them hate it anyway, but you may be better received with their permission. Don't make death announcements on social media until everyone that matters has been contacted personally. I imagine few things are worse than logging on to Facebook to receive some news that you should have gotten over the phone. Well, friends, you've made it through the longest chapter. Exhale. Good job. Chapter 35. Decoding text. Because reading between the E-lines is a necessary skill. You girls and boys of today love to do everything via text. I'm one of those girls. I believe one of the most important skills you can acquire is knowing when you're being curved in a text message. It will save you a lot of potential heartbreak and embarrassment if you can catch the signs of disinterest early on in the conversation. Number 1, we'll see. If you're trying to make plans with someone or ask them out on a date and they reply with "we'll see," that is a no. We'll see doesn't really mean we'll see. It means I don't want to see you. Number 2, I'll let you know. I'll let you know is also a curve, but this is a step up from "we'll see." It means the person doesn't want to kick with you right now, but possibly in the future. Number 3, let's put something on the calendar. This is my personal favorite. It's still a swerve, but a very mild one. It means you're swerved by someone who respects you too much to hit you with a "we'll see." Number 4, I'ma try. If you invite someone to something and they reply with "I'ma try," understand that they're not coming. Don't make them a plate. Do not put them in your head count. Number 5, I didn't see your text. Not only is this a swerve, but it is almost always a bold-faced lie. Face it, most of us are practically glued to our phones throughout the day. They saw your text. They just didn't see it as one they wanted to reply to. Number 6, LOL. This one can go so many different ways, and it can be a swerve of sorts. If If you try to slide something flirtatious in the text and the person replies with LOL, they just tried to politely usher you back into the friend zone you tried to sneak out of. Homework time. Go back through all your text threads and see how many times you got swerved and didn't realize it. Chapter 35. A grammar lesson. Because I get a physical headache reading some of you all's posts. Fun fact about me. I am a grammar police of the highest order. Now don't get me wrong. I'm not a jerk about it. I don't go correcting people's grammar all willy-nilly, but I do side-eye people in my mind. There are a few things in particular that have been getting to me lately that we need to address. Number 1, our versus our. I'm not sure what possessed you all to start using our and our interchangeably, but it's wrong. It's so wrong. Y'all be talking about, we had so much fun on our vacation. I don't even know how to properly address this other than just telling you all to stop it. Number 2, leaving ED off of words that should have it at the end. ED goes at the end of certain words. Between you all and that I am so blessed and what happened, I just want to scream sometimes. It's literally only 2 more letters, folks. Give that ED some work. Number 3, realist versus realist. I get so sick of seeing this sentence. He or she is the realist. No, stop this. Realist. He's the realist. He may also be a realist, but in this context, you mean realist. Just take my word for it. Number 4, woman versus women. Alas, this may be the biggest grammatical bane of my existence. My mother is the strongest women I know. I'm grateful for this women right here. Slap yourself. The fact that autocorrect wouldn't even let these sentences cook when I tried to type them lets you know how wrong it is. Woman is singular, as in one woman. That is your mother. Women is plural, more than one woman. Let's get that together, please. Chapter 36. Bullying. Because some of y'all are bullies, and you're raising little bullies. I can't stand a bully. I deplore bullying. As a person who has neither been bullied or bullied anyone, my heart sincerely goes out to anyone who has had to endure such a thing. It is important to understand that bullying comes in many different forms. There are traditional bullies on the playground, but they can also be parents, spouses, bosses, coworkers. There is also a such thing as cyberbullying. We should first establish a working definition of bullying. Bullying is intentionally harassing and intimidating someone, whether it is to get something from them or have control over them, or just to make them miserable. A person is especially a bully if they have some sort of advantage over the victim, like position or authority or physical strength. The first thing you have to understand about bullies is that they are miserable in some way. The thing about misery is that it loves company, which is why they have their sights on you. Maybe they're unattractive or have low self-esteem. Maybe they envy something about you. Even online, have you ever noticed that the people who say the most horrific things never have a profile picture? Whatever the case, you don't deserve to be sucked into anyone's misery. I'd like to cover some ways to combat this issue because you owe it to yourself to not allow yourself to be bullied. One thing you should always do in a situation involving bullying is tell. Children should tell their parents, a teacher, an authority figure, and tell until someone believes them. For adults, in work situations involving bullying, the same applies. There is no one in any company whose head you can't go over. I don't care if you work at McDonald's. Keep going up the ranks until you reach Ronald McDonald himself if you have to. Just keep telling. It is also important to have your receipts in order. By that I mean, do your best to keep a record of each encounter you have with a bully. Dates, times, what occurred, they all help a great deal when you get ready to report these incidents. Report everything. Even if it seems like no one is doing anything about it, it is still good to have a paper trail. Finally, I want to stress this as a last resort. God gave you 2 hands. You may have to use them at some point. If you have ever seen A Christmas Story, take note of how Ralphie handled his bully. Now, I cannot in an official capacity condone violence, so I'll just say that self-defense is a real thing. Wink, wink. I believe that it is all of our responsibility to look out for bullying and stand up for those who are being bullied. Life stuff. Fun fact. This section was originally called Y'all and These Kids, but I was told to be nice, so I changed it to life stuff. Chapter 37. First up, how to survive a whooping. Because they're lying when they say it will hurt them more than it will hurt you. I'll admit, I tend to mildly enjoy watching a good whooping in progress sometimes. Most people won't say this, but whoopings are funny. They just are. But that's not why we're here. It occurred to me that many of the kids simply don't know how to survive a beatdown. I don't call my brand My Helps the People for no reason. I help all people. That includes the kids. Take a break right here and pass the book over to your young ones. Let Auntie Mai have a chat with them about something that doesn't concern you. First things first, we should talk prevention. The best thing you can do is pretend to be asleep. If you're out with your mama and you've been promised a whooping upon arrival at home, try to fall asleep in the car. Here's what happens. Mama is so happy that you're asleep that she may not bother to get you. On the other side of that, if your mama is savage, she'll shake you right up out of that sleep and beat you anyway. Should prevention fail, you need to be prepared to approach your whoopings both offensively and defensively. You have to prepare. How do you prepare, you ask? Get your clothing situation together. Put some clothes on. You have to be smart when using the extra clothing method. Your mom is not dumb. If she sees you in a sweatshirt in June, she'll know what's up. It might make you strip down to the drawers. Dig around in your closet and get yourself a good pair of jeans. People generally wear jeans year-round, so she might not even notice that you have them on. It really helps with the impact of the belt. Now that we've arrived to the actual whooping, we need to cover some very key do's and don'ts. Do not play games with the whooping utensil. If mama tells you to pick your own switch or go get a belt, don't play with it. Don't try to find the smallest tree branch or the thinnest belt that only wraps around once. That is only going to make her madder. When she gets her hands on you, she will get stronger. Number 2, cry. Don't try to not cry. Parents see that as a challenge, and it could unnecessarily prolong the whooping. Start welling up after the first lick. After the second lick, you should be in full tears. Number 3, do say yes, ma'am. If you never use these words, yes, ma'am, at any other time in your life, you have to use them during the whooping. I'm not sure why. That's just how it goes. Adults, especially mamas, tend to ask questions mid-whooping, in between licks. Your answers to said questions should be nothing but yes, ma'ams. Unless she asks if you think she's playing with you, in which case, no, ma'am, is the correct answer. Number 4, do not grab the belt. Don't do it, ever. If you grab the belt during a whooping, your mom will call all your aunties and tell them you tried to fight her. Now you have the rest of the family to contend with, along with your whooping. Number 5, do prepare for the surprise lick. You should always be on guard and ready for that last kiss from the belt. It's coming, and all you can do is mentally prepare. When the whooping is over, your mama might say something along the lines of, "Get out of my face." At which point, you and any other logically thinking child would proceed to go around the opposite way. But no. Mama says, "No, come around this way." Understand that she's about to whack you one last time. You'll live, I promise. While it is my hope that you survive your next lashing, I would be remiss if I didn't include the main pro tip. Whoopings are 100% avoidable with obedience and doing what you're supposed to do. Chapter 38, Public Discipline. Because you should be able to whoop some tail without going to jail. While I'm out and about, few things make me itch like watching a little one fall out on the floor and scream for bloody murder. Honestly, my heart goes out to some of the parents who look like they want nothing more than to snatch the little kid up by the ankles. But laws. I imagine discipline these days might be tricky in public places because people like to call police and stuff. This is where I come in. I've studied this thing, and I believe I can help you all get your little angels back into their wings without going to jail. Number 1, the car. If you can, hold out until you get back to your car. This way is most efficient. Get them into that car, drive off away from all the store cameras, and go to work. Roll up the windows and soundproof your whooping chambers. Number 2, bathrooms. If the establishment you're in has a restroom, you're in luck. Be cool. Be real smooth. Take the little shorty by the hand, like any normal bathroom trip, but when you get in there, get them. Number 3, get out the way. This is for those of you who have children who like to fall out in public. Most parents are inclined to try and break their kids' fall, to avoid them hitting their head. I say do the opposite. When you see little Johnny go to fall out, just step back and let gravity do its work. When Johnny's little head tastes granite for the first time, he will be reluctant to ever try that again. I know what you're thinking. How are you going to tell kids how to survive a whooping in one chapter and tell parents how to whoop in the second chapter? I told you, I'm here for everybody. However you choose to govern your kids, remember that you are not the only one in that public space. So just letting your kid act a fool and be a disruption should not be an option. Chapter 39. Stop letting your kids be disruptive in church. Because you learning to tune them out doesn't mean that they're good. I distinctly remember getting a request from one of my viewers to make a video about people who let their kids be noisy in church. It was spring 2018. I looked at the date and realized the previous Sunday was Easter. I already know those kids were off the chain. I know it because you parents already allow them to be off the chain on regular Sundays, movie theaters, and in restaurants. Here are a few things that you can do to not spoil the experience for the rest of us with your little angels. Number 1, take them out. If your child is being disruptive, take them out, period, immediately. Don't just sit in the pew and allow them to scream and holler all over the word. All churches either have a bathroom, a hallway, or a parking lot. Take them there and don't take all day doing it. Here's what you parents have to understand. We don't know how to tune your kids out like you do. You've had a ton of practice because you let them rip, run, and act like hillbillies at home. Not only can we not ignore it, but I'm certain that it is a distraction to whomever is up speaking. Spare us, please. Number 2, bring snacks. A handful of these kids aren't even bad. They're just hungry. I was a hangry church kid, and adult for that matter, so I sympathize. These children are just the easiest to soothe. A fruit snack, a juice box, a Cheeto, and they're out like a light. Keep something in your bag for the babies. Number 3, bring entertainment. Now, I'm certain that many of the old-timers will disagree with me here, and that's fine. If you're open to it, however, bring the kids something that will hold their attention during services. Frankly, I don't expect any 3-year-old to sit quietly for an hour and listen to a preacher. I do expect them to enjoy that iPad and YouTube long enough for the rest of us to be able to hear what's going on. Chapter 40, Raggedy Kids. Because you all's babies be looking unclaimed. I have to very quickly address you people who send your children out into the world looking like Oliver Twist and Orphan Annie. I could be a little more understanding if your kids are dirty because you're dirty, or if your kids stunk because you stink. Their hair is all over their head, but so is yours. Their shoes are run over, and yours are overrun. If any of this were the case, I promise I would just shut my mouth. The issue is that I have not seen this to be the case. I see parents dressed to the nines with not a hair or nail out of place. They exit their cars, and out hop these children who look like they belong to absolutely no one. I just want you all to know that God is going to get y'all for that. You have $200 to spend on your hair, but you can't break off 40 so your little girl isn't looking like a pineapple by the head. You're in the salon chair every 3 weeks like clockwork, but you'll take your baby to get some braids in January and leave them in till June. That is a problem. I could go on and on with this, but I won't. I'll stop right there. I'll just leave enough here to convict you into doing better. Chapter 41. Avoiding bad babysitting gigs. I know that a lot of teens and young adults are about making the money these days. I believe one of the most common sources of work for young people is babysitting. That's awesome. However, you have to understand the importance of not accepting any old babysitting gig. Trust me, sometimes the money just isn't worth it, and no babysitting gig pays enough to cover your bill when you catch a case. Since I've been there and done that, let me offer you some unsolicited advice. That's kind of what I do anyway. First things first, be cautious of a parent that talks about their kid too much and talks them up. If they go on and on about how good their kid is, they have something to hide, and they're just roping you in. They might tell you that their child is a doll, but fail to mention that the doll is Chucky. Next, get a good look in the little one's mouth and check for silver caps on the teeth. I caution strongly against babysitting silver caps. There's a lot to be said about a kid with caps on teeth that haven't even fallen out yet. It means they've been bad since birth. Run. Watch out for kids who never need a Band-Aid. Have you ever seen a child hurt themselves and just suck the blood out and go on about their business? Pain means nothing to them, so a whooping probably wouldn't faze them either. You know they're bad. Decline this gig. Look the child over for cuts, scrapes, bruises, and keloided wounds. This indicates that they've been bad so long that their parents have given up on taking them to the emergency room. You don't want these problems. This kind of kid is not only a pain, but a liability. Take notice of buck teeth. Buck teeth are usually indicative of a child that's either been on the bottle, the pacifier, or the titty for way too long. They're probably mad, spoiled, and clingy. I won't say don't take this gig, but proceed with caution if you don't have much patience for crybabies. Try to observe your potential clients around animals. See how they interact with their pets and whatnot. Take notice of whether or not they like to pluck cat whiskers or set squirrel tails on fire. I don't care what anyone says. Those are serial killer traits. Don't accept that gig and do alert the authorities. In the babysitting game, getting stuck with an occasional bad kid is inevitable. Allow me to leave you with some parting wisdom. Charge extra for bad kids. Double even. Also, don't let these parents stiff you. Get half your money up front and the other half when you return their child to them in one piece. Social media. Chapter 42. Stop abusing hashtags because they only work one way. If you've been on the social medias for longer than a day, you probably have become familiar with the hashtag. A hashtag happens when you put a pound sign before a word or a group of words. Hashtags serve two purposes. Their first purpose is to help group posts and photos according to the topic and relativity. Their second purpose is to make posts more easily searchable. I noticed that there are 4 main mistakes people tend to make in the hashtagging process. Let's have a look at them. Number 1, stop hashtagging full sentences. Stop trying to make full sentences into hashtags. Hashtag, this is my life and I'm doing what I want to do because I'm grown. Nope, that's not how it works. It's also stupid because no one is even going to read that, much less search for it. Number 2, stop making each word in the phrase its own hashtag. Again, no one searches like that. So you are accomplishing nothing in the way of making your posts more searchable. Number 3, overdoing it. Some of you just use entirely too many hashtags per post. While I get what you're trying to do, assuming you're trying to use more hashtag to garner more likes, there's just simply no reason under the sun to have 50 tags on one post. Focus your hashtags and whittle them down to the ones that are actually related to the post. Number 4, hashtag catfishing. See number 3. Because some of you have the gross habit of using hashtags that aren't remotely related to the post. You include tags that are wildly popular in hopes that will bring more traffic to your posts. Stop doing this. It's annoying and it's clickbait. Some of you sink to the lowest of lows with this. I have actually seen people hashtag things like cancer sucks under their regular old selfies just to get more traction. I want you all to be better than that and have a little shame in yourself. Chapter 43. Consider before you post. Because everything doesn't need to be posted in real time. One of my viewers slid into my DMs like, girl, can you talk about these people that got a Snapchat the whole night while we're out? And I was like, bet. I was happy to cover this topic because it grinds my gears as well when people don't know when to put the phones away in a group setting. For you good people who like to record and post everything and tag your locations everywhere, that's problematic for a few reasons. The first and foremost issue is that it is a safety hazard. You and your girls are out having a good time at an undisclosed location until you've all recorded all of you all's faces and tagged your current location. What if one of your girls has an enemy or a stalker or owes somebody money? You've just posted yourself and you all's whereabouts in real time. What's to stop someone from pulling up on you all? That may sound paranoid and extra, but I want to disabuse you of the notion that it doesn't happen. It certainly does. Another issue is that some of you are so gung-ho to post something that you don't take the time to make sure you're getting a good picture or video. Y'all have your homegirls out here with their eyes closed, lipstick on their teeth, boobs going in 2 different directions. Just sad sights. The final problem is that you all tag people in things and don't consider the fact that some of them are friends with their moms, pastors, coworkers, etc. on social media. And they don't want certain parts of their life public. What if I don't want my coworkers to know that I can twerk on a handstand? There's a very simple solution here. It's called approval. Get your people's permission before you go posting things. It only takes 1 second to say, hey guys, mind if I post this and tag the location? They may give you the green light or they'll tell you that they don't prefer to be posted. Either way, you've avoided making a regrettable post. Here's the bottom line. Be considerate with your posts and tags and have fun. Chapter 44. Social media etiquette. Because you all aren't minding your e-manners. Number 1. Don't start personal conversations in the comments of someone else's post. If you and someone else are going on and on under someone's picture about everything but the picture, you are both out of order. Take that to the DMs. Number 2. Don't argue in someone else's comments, especially with people you don't know. Most of that mess gets started from people not knowing what an A and B conversation is. Let's say that one of my acquaintances, whom you don't know, leaves a comment that you don't particularly like on my post. It is not your place to say anything to them. That could be an inside joke or something between me and that person. You have no context, so stay out of it. Number 3, if you use the check-in feature, Get the permission of the people you're with before you tag them. Refer to the previous chapter. Number 4, don't comment on every single one of a person's pictures or posts back to back. Aside from making it painfully obvious that you're sitting there stalking that person's page, it's also annoying to constantly get the notifications. This also goes for liking really old posts and photos. It's super stalky. Number 5, stop abusing hashtags. There's a previous chapter on that as well. Number 6, get your homophones together. Homophones are words that sound similar but are spelled differently and mean different things. That means you need to bring some order to the yours and two and two. Number 7, proofread your posts before actually posting. Typos happen to the best of us, but some of these posts are like trying to read another language. Autocorrect is too readily available for you to be out here like that. Number 8, if you don't like what someone posts, there are several buttons that will disabuse you of their content. There are unfollows, unfriends, hide, mute, block, all manner of goodness. You have options, but the option you do not have is trying to comfort somebody about what they chose to post on their page. If you don't like what you see, you don't have to see it. Basically, mind your business and your autocorrect and engage with people like you have some sense. Chapter 45, log out, knowing when to take a social media break. Because I know your thumbs have a callus. By now, you probably have an idea that I am a big fan of social media across its various platforms. Lately, however, I've noticed some things that suggest it may be time for us all to put our phones down. I've compiled a short list of signs and symptoms that will help you identify when a break is in order. Number 1, if checking your socials is the first thing you do upon waking up in the morning, you can't even bother to remove your eye boogers before your thumbs go to work. You're addicted, and you need a break. Number 2, if you can't browse without comparing yourself to every post, you need to log out for a bit. Comparison is a joy thief, and social media makes it available to you 1,000 times over. Don't do that to yourself. Sign out. Number 3, if you notice that you are more anxious or paranoid than you used to be, that could be a clear indicator that it's time for you to exit the virtual world for a bit. Whether it's violence, politics, or injustice, bad news is never in short supply on social media, nor does it spread quicker anywhere else. We take in a lot of bad stuff every day, and it can become traumatizing. You have to protect yourself and your mental space, or you'll find yourself afraid to walk out of your front door. Give yourself a break. Number 4, if you're becoming more self-conscious about your appearance in ways that you weren't before, you're probably due to log out. I'll admit, I always thought I was pretty cute until Snapchat and its glorious features became a thing. You mean to tell me that with one swipe there's a cuter version of me? With a skinny nose and no blemishes, or whatever the girls look for? Don't get me wrong, filters are awesome, but if you are at the point where you can barely take a picture without one, that's not good. Number 5, if you're finding yourself engaging more in arguments online, please log out. How you can be in Brazil beefing with a stranger in China will always be beyond me. Take the whole phone and toss it. Number 6, if your friends only exist on social media, you need to take an indefinite hiatus. That's no shade to online friendships. They are a real thing and can be very beautiful. However, that should not be the extent of your social circle. That's sad. Log off. Go outside. Make a real friend. Number 7, if your thumbs have calloused, I shouldn't have to finish this sentence. You know what you need to do. Epilogue. Well, friends, we've reached the end of our journey here together. If you laughed a lot while listening to this, you're probably a person with good sense. If you felt attacked while listening to this, you're most likely one of the guilty parties. Don't be upset, though. There's room for improvement in all of us. I hope you all still love me because you're crazy if you think this is my first and last book. In the meantime, until we reconvene in the pages, govern yourselves.